Alright, now we're to Chapter 6e, the Club of Rome. Quote, "The earth has cancer, and the cancer is man." Unquote. Club of Rome, Mankind at the Turning Point, 1974. Quote, "The resultant ideal sustainable population is hence more than 500 million, but less than 1 billion. Unquote. Club of Rome, Goals for Mankind, 1976. The next entry into the Roundtable group was the Club of Rome, which was conceived during the Conference on Conditions of World Order. This meeting was held from June 12th to the 19th, 1965 at the Villa Cerboloni in Bellagio, Italy, sponsored by the Congress for Cultural Freedom, with a grant from the Ford Foundation and the American Academy of Arts and Sciences. 3 years later, in April 1968, a think tank of financiers, scientists, economists, politicians, heads of state, and industrialists from 10 different countries again met in Italy at David Rockefeller's private estate in Bellagio, Italy, at the request of Aurelio Peccei. Peccei was an Italian industrialist who had close ties to Fiat and the Olivetti Corporation. He claimed to have solutions for world peace and prosperity, which could be accomplished through a one-world government. The Club of Rome was initially established with a membership of 75 prominent scientists, industrialists, and economists from 25 countries. Quote, "Democracy is not a panacea. It cannot organize everything, and it is unaware of its own limits. These facts must be faced squarely. Sacrilegious though this may sound, democracy is no longer well suited for the task ahead. The complexity and the technical nature of many of today's problems do not always allow elected representatives to make competent decisions at the right time." Unquote. Official quote from the Club of Rome. The Club of Rome's first publication, titled "The Limits to Growth," was published in 1972 and dealt with the Illuminati-propagated issue of worldwide overpopulation. It stated that, quote, "If the world's consumption patterns and population growth continued at the same high rates of the time, the earth would strike its limits within a century." Unquote. The book, which sold 12 million copies in 27 languages, described their vision for the world. Quote, "We believe in fact that the need will quickly become evident for social innovation to match technical change, for radical reform of the institutions and political processes at all levels, including the highest, that of world polity. And since intellectual enlightenment is without effect if it is not also political, the Club of Rome also will encourage the creation of a world forum where statesmen, policymakers, and scientists can discuss the dangers and hopes for the future global system without the constraints of formal intergovernmental negotiation." Unquote. For the most part, the Club of Rome is a high-powered, Illuminati-funded think tank, functioning as a research institute on economic, political, and social problems. The Club of Rome claims, quote, "There is no other viable alternative to the future survival of civilization than a new global community under a common leadership," unquote, also known as the One World Government. Their website claims, quote, "The Club of Rome's mission is to act as a global catalyst of change that is free of any political, ideological, or business interest. The Club of Rome contributes to the solution of what it calls the world problematic, the complex set of the most crucial problems, political, social, economic, technological, environmental, psychological, and cultural, facing humanity. It does so taking a global, long-term, and interdisciplinary perspective, aware of the increasing interdependence of nations and the globalization of problems that pose predicaments beyond the capacity of individual countries." Unquote. On September 17, 1973, they released a report called The Regionalized and Adaptive Model of the Global World System, which was prepared as part of the Strategy for Survival project. This revealed the Club of Rome's goal of dividing the world into 10 political economic regions, which in turn would fall under a single global authority, the One World Government. The same plan was published in a Club of Rome book called Mankind at the Turning Point, which said, quote, "The solution of these crises can be developed only in a global context, with full and explicit recognition of the emerging world system and on a long-term basis. This would necessitate, among other changes, a new world economic order and a global resources allocation system," unquote. We better go back and see what the book of Revelation says about the Club of Rome's proposed 10 regions, also known as the 10 kingdoms of the end times. Quote, "And the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings, which have received no power as yet, but receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast. These have one mind, and shall give their power and strength unto the beast," unquote. Revelation 17:12-13. All right, that's the end of that subchapter, and next time we'll pick up with the Trilateral Commission. So look forward to that.